Chris Brown just walked into a London courtroom and did something nobody was fully expecting. After 2.5 years of denials, after a dramatic hotel arrest, after a £5 million bail that let him keep touring the world, he stood up and said the word guilty. And in less than 5 minutes, one of the most closely watched celebrity court cases of the year was suddenly, mostly over. If you have been following this story since it first broke, you already know how wild this journey has been. And if this is the first time you are hearing about it, don't worry. I am about to walk you through the entire thing from the night it happened in 2023 all the way to what happened this Friday at Southwark Crown Court. So get comfortable because we have a lot to get into. Before we start, quick question for you. Do you think a guilty plea like this is a smart legal move, or does it feel like Chris Brown got off easy? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to see where you all stand on this one. And if you enjoy breaking down celebrity legal drama with actual facts and not just rumors, hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss one of these videos. Let's rewind to where this whole thing started. February of 2023. A nightclub called Tape, tucked into the upscale Mayfair district of London. It is the kind of club where celebrities go to unwind without too many eyes on them, or at least that is the idea. But that night, something happened inside those walls that would follow Chris Brown for years. According to prosecutors, Brown got into a violent confrontation with a music producer named Abraham Dia, also known as Abe. The claim was that Brown struck Dia over the head with a bottle, not once, but twice, during a chaotic scene in a crowded club. His longtime friend and vocal coach, a man named Omalalu Akinlalu, who also goes by the stage name Hoodie Baby, was right there with him and was accused of taking part in the attack too. For a long time, nothing happened publicly. Brown was in the UK, there was no arrest, and the story sat quietly in the background. Then, in May of 2025, everything changed in one afternoon. Brown had flown into Manchester to start preparing for a tour. He was staying at a 5-star hotel called the Lowry when police showed up and detained him. He was arrested on suspicion of causing grievous bodily harm, which is a serious charge in the UK, and for a few days, a judge actually ordered that he be held without bail because of how serious the allegations were. Picture that for a second. One of the biggest R&B stars in the world, sitting in custody in the UK, while his team scrambled behind the scenes. It wasn't until a custody hearing that a judge agreed to release him on bail, but that bail number was enormous, £5 million, which comes out to roughly $6.75 million US. Quick pause here because I want to ask you something. If you were facing an allegation like this, do you think posting that kind of bail should even be allowed before a trial? Or does that just show that money can buy freedom, even temporarily? Let me know what you think, and remember to like this video if you are enjoying the breakdown so far. So Brown posts bail, and here is where it gets even more interesting. That bail didn't just let him go home and wait quietly. It let him keep working. He went on to perform across Europe on what became known as the Breezy Bowl tour, and eventually brought that same tour to North America last summer. Fans who bought tickets months earlier got to watch him perform night after night, all while this criminal case was sitting in the background, completely unresolved. At his tour kickoff show in Manchester, not long after his release, Brown actually thanked the crowd for supporting him while he was in custody, and he joked about the experience, saying something about how nice the jail actually was to him. That single comment went viral online, with people split between finding it funny and finding it completely inappropriate given the seriousness of what he was accused of. Back in June of 2025, Brown appeared at Southwark Crown Court for the first time in this case. He stood in the dock wearing a dark suit and glasses, and when the charge was read to him, attempting to cause grievous bodily harm with intent, he answered simply, "Not guilty." He waved to people in the public gallery before leaving that day, and the court scheduled a lengthy trial, 5 to 7 days, set to begin in October of 2026. Then in July of 2025, he was back again. This time, Brown's team had gotten more time to review evidence the prosecution had only just handed over. When he did enter his plea, he denied a charge of assault occasioning actual bodily harm and a separate charge of possessing an offensive weapon in public. His co-defendant, Akinlalu, denied the same charges. Both men were sticking to their story. Not guilty, across the board. Chris Brown showed up at Southwark Crown Court dressed like he was heading somewhere far more relaxed than a courtroom. A tan suit, gold-rimmed sunglasses, and a St. Louis Cardinals baseball cap. Security surrounded him as he made his way inside, and outside the courthouse, a crowd of fans had gathered, hoping to catch a glimpse of him. Some reports even mention him signing autographs for supporters on his way out. Inside, though, things moved fast. The entire hearing lasted less than 5 minutes. In that short window, Brown changed his plea completely. Instead of fighting the case, he pleaded guilty to a charge called Affray. His co-defendant Akinlalu did the exact same thing. Now, if you are not familiar with UK law, Affray is essentially a public order offense. It applies when someone uses or threatens unlawful violence in a way that would make an ordinary bystander fear for their safety. In this case, the specific charge stated that Brown and Akinlalu used or threatened unlawful violence toward another person back on February 19, 2023, and that their conduct together would cause a reasonable person present at the scene to fear for their own safety. In exchange for that guilty plea, prosecutors agreed to drop the more serious charges. The assault charge, the attempted grievous bodily harm charge, and the offensive weapon charge, all of them were dismissed as part of this deal. Essentially, Brown avoided facing the most serious accusations against him by accepting responsibility for the lesser one. A senior prosecutor with the Crown Prosecution Service named Claire Campbell spoke publicly after the plea, and her comments were pretty striking. She described the incident as a vicious and unprovoked attack, explaining that Brown used a glass bottle as a weapon to strike the victim's head twice, and she made it clear that the CPS intends to keep pursuing cases like this to show that no one is above the law. That is a strong statement, and it tells you the prosecution still views what happened that night as a serious act of violence, even though the most severe charges didn't stick around for sentencing. So, what happens now? Judge Tony Baumgartner has scheduled sentencing for October 26th. Since Affray carries a maximum sentence of 3 years in prison, there is a real possibility Brown could face actual custody time, though guilty pleas often result in more lenient sentencing than a conviction after a full trial would. Until October, he remains free on bail. This isn't Chris Brown's first experience with the justice system either. Longtime fans and critics alike remember his history in Los Angeles, where he served time in connection with a felony assault conviction involving his then-girlfriend, Rihanna, back in 2009. That case has followed him throughout his entire career, and this new plea is bringing a lot of that old conversation right back into the spotlight. Do you think this guilty plea will actually affect Chris Brown's career or his fan base at all? Looking at his ticket sales and his streaming numbers over the past few years, it doesn't seem like controversy has slowed him down much. Is that a problem with how we treat celebrities? Or is it just proof that people separate the art from the artist? I really want to hear your take in the comments. We will be back with an update the moment sentencing happens on October 26th. So, if you want to see how this actually plays out, now is the time to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. And if this video helped you actually understand this case instead of just seeing headlines flying around, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.